Alright, well, been asked to do an overview on the 4BT Bronco Beast, so I thought I'd give you guys a rundown right now. So 1996 Bronco, Eddie Bauer, at least it was. 37s, custom front grille, front bumper, projector lights, theoretically it's a 5.5-inch suspension lift, but with the extra blocks it's closer to almost 7-inch. Custom rear bumper, so the reason why I decided to do the 4BT was because my engine was getting a little tired. When I purchased this thing, had 130 pretty hard miles, 130k on the engine. So basically what I decided to do is do a diesel transplant in it. I could have rebuilt the motor, but in my life I really like the diesel engines, and in this case I decided I didn't want any type of computers on it. You never know, EMP might hit, so I want to make sure that she'll run. But anyways, as you can see, that engine sits in there absolutely beautiful. I got my dual battery set up. I put an isolator on it, so it'll charge up both batteries, but only drain one at a time if you have it. If you're using the winch or whatever on the yellow top. So, and then also have this solenoid. So when I turn on when I go to crank the engine, it'll actually connect both batteries together for the cranking portion. Diesels do take a little bit more energy. Well, you can see down in here, kind of try to give you a little low-end view. Those of you that want to do your own transplant, I highly recommend it. As you can see, the alternator, the stock AC fit. I did have to redo the line a little bit, but nothing major. Come down in, see the motor mounts, my linkage. This linkage turned out absolutely awesome. Was able to keep the factory bracket. I mocked the factory bracket up to another plate, and then I don't know if you can see it down in there, but the plate itself is bolted on, so I can remove that plate by itself. But I have not only nice throttle, but I also maintain my cruise control, which is right there. So it's got a 1-ton booster, 1-ton master cylinder. What I also did was incorporate a line lock and then a hydraulic parking brake. On the side of a hill, parking brake, especially if I got the trailer beast hooked up to it, I don't want it dragging off. And this actually locks up the front calipers, and I can still use the rear parking brake in tandem with it, so I don't have to stress too bad on this thing sliding back. Remote reservoir for the Saginaw. The Saginaw is going to come in handy when I finally do a hydraulic assist. But Ford reservoir, I can't remember what I got it off of, but fit perfect. Was able to get that on there. maintain my regular cool. I did have to switch the radiator, which I just recently did, to a 4.9 straight 6 radiator because of the way the outlets are on the stock 5.8 radiator. The inlet, or the top hose was up top, and then the lower one was over on this side here. So I switched that over actually just recently. But it's nice. There's the top view. Try to give you a back view and how nice that thing just sits in there. So we come around and we'll kind of go underneath. So when you look underneath the front, you can actually see how much room is really under here. You can see the motor mount, the other motor mount, oil pan. I mean, you do have to switch the oil pan around, which is all universal. The only thing you have to do is get a rear pickup tube for it. You can see I got the super lift steering on it. Not sure if I like it or not. As you can see, I actually dented it on the last run. RCV axles. You can see a couple more little dents underneath there. I'll walk around. As you can see, my chain sway bar. You know, it's a beast. In order to tame a beast, you got to chain her down. Working around here. I can see the RCV axle there. Let's see if there we go. Underneath. Bilsteins. We'll walk our way back. You can see the rock lights. The rock light mounted. Atlas 4. Coming back. 8.8. Now, one of the things I got to do, and I just got to get the funds up for it, but I'm going to be changing the rear and the front to 1 ton. So at the time, I just used whatever I needed to get by, but it's working so far. And you can see the exhaust, 3-inch all the way back. Oh, you can see it coming up underneath there. I'll come on to the other side. The lift kit is from Bronco Graveyard, the Superflex, and I tell you what, I love it. Those Deaver springs, look at the size of that pack. 10 pack. Thin springs. This thing's just sweet to drive. Before we go to the other side, just kind of give you a show of the swing bumper. This thing, if anybody wonders why my hitch is always sideways, so I can get my tailgate open. Look at that. And that is like one heavy tire. Oh my gosh. What I also did is I made the tire removable out of the receiver hitch in here, and then I just used this bolt to keep it snug so it doesn't shake too much while I'm driving down the road. But now if I want to change the tire, just loosen up the nut, pull the pin, and I slide the whole thing off. I'm not trying to line up all the bolt holes, especially if I'm by myself. If I got a buddy, that's no big deal, but by myself, that's a big deal. Anyways, it's a 15,000 pound swivel hitch. And the beauty of a swivel hitch, if you can see, let me get the handle out of the way here a little bit. No, maybe. Yeah, it's locked in there. If you can see, that spring, there you go, that's a good view. The spring right down in here actually enables this thing, this hitch, to pull a trailer over a rock by using spring tension force release. So basically, the tires on the trailer will stop, the spring will pull, and actually it gives it that extra load to pull the trailer up over the obstruction. But yeah, that thing's in there good, locked in with 2 grade 8 bolts. Got welded long nuts on there. That fit in there so tight, so nice. And but anyways, yeah, you just look at that. There we go. Literally can pull a tank with this thing. What's really cool about this whole project here was when I made the swing bumper, because of the weight of the tire, I had to angle the spindle at a point where it would line up flat. And I tell you what, I'm going to give all the credit to the Lord, because because the way this thing slides up in here, if you look at this, it's absolutely like perfect. I mean, I don't know how to explain the difficulty in this long of a run of tubing to get that thing that perfect. It's, again, I'll tell you, it was a blessing big time. But anyway, so I got the new, I decided to paint over all the plastic headlights because they're going to get scratched up. And I figured the Monster liner, the bed liner, would be the best avenue for that. Protect them as much as possible. Yeah, still got a few things to do. There we go on this side. Just kind of look around. You can see that big old pipe. Oh, beautiful. Yeah. I kind of go up underneath. Another view of the Atlas 4. Come on up under here. There's the ZF5, and follow the exhaust up to the top. If you look, let's see where that starter is. Look how easy it is to get to the starter. The oil filter's up underneath there. Literally unbelievably cool. And I can't really wait to get my my 1-ton front axle. Last time I was wheeling the TTB, with the amount of flex that I've got in the front end, was it was pretty disappointing. It torqued in so bad. But let's go ahead and climb up in here and listen to this thing roar. So basically, when you look, I've got my boost gauge. Let's see if this thing will try to. That's not coming in. Let's see. Anyways, okay, so inside, there we go. There's the boost gauge. So what I've got, again, the line lock. So my line lock, push button here, you can hear it clicking out there. So when I push the brakes, if I push the brakes, hit the line lock, the brakes are locked up, you know, just like any kind of drag car or something like that. And what this enables me to do with the manual transmission is, if I'm on the side of a hill and I stall the engine or I have to stop for any reason, I can use the line lock to hold the brakes so that I can have my right foot clear for the gas pedal and to give it more fuel. Beautiful thing. Then up here we have the brake lock, and what this is so if I want to do a parking brake, I flip it over, hit the brakes, and it holds the pressure with my foot not applied, and it'll hold it for days. It does not use energy to hold the brakes. It's a one-way check valve, and when you energize it, it locks it in, and so you're not draining your battery, you're just holding the brakes. Turn it off, you hit the brakes again, and it unlocks. Alright, so let's go ahead and hear this thing fire up. See the boost gauge. It's not going to be showing boost right now, but it's also got, you can't really, oh there it is, EGT sense, temperature, intake temperature, and this thing runs, when I'm getting on it, it'll run about 23 to 28 pounds of boost. I don't know if you can hear me, but one of the things I need to do is redo the fan shroud so that it pulls more air through the shroud. Anyways, well, there's the walkthrough. 4BT Bronco Beast, aka Rick's Bronco Beast. One of my next videos I'll do at night and show you the rock lights. Oh, I forgot to go in here. See how I fixed my front bumper on too. Also got the receiver on front. Weird, my go ahead and shut this down. Nice. For my lights, my new fog lights, but another thing I did with the angle of the front bumper is put on my rock lights up in here. So this rock light shoots a nice beam over to that wheel, and that rock light shoots a nice beam under this wheel. So it's funny when you see people running rock lights. You see them running just to show the undercarriage of the vehicle. It's like, well, you know, rock lights are actually for a purpose. That's so you can actually see where your tires are going to go on the next rock or boulder. Another thing you can see, the timing marks. Now, on these engines, these things are timed through here to the pump. So this is your timing pump gears in here, and it's got to be timed to top dead center. They come stock at 11 degrees, and you can actually see that on here, 11.5 degrees before top dead center. Well, if you want a little bit more power, which makes the engines a little bit more rattly, but it gives it more power, you have to bump the timing up. Well, I had to make timing marks on my balancer because a 4-cylinder doesn't hold itself when you're trying to, use your the proper valve, the proper fuel timing, the holder and the pieces. And so when I loosened up that bolt, I lost my timing. Thank God I was able to get it back to running, and I was able to figure out by getting another balancer with the timing marks, and I just transferred the timing marks over, and it worked out quite well. So I've got it advanced about 16 to 17 degrees before top dead center. Also in here is a fuel plate, and you pull this thing off, you put a new fuel plate in there, and then down there are governor springs, and you upgrade the governor springs from 2800 to, or 2300, 2300 to 4000 RPM springs, so you can actually drive this thing. But anyways, again, hope you like. If you decide to do one, I'm open to questions and answers. So, all right, well, have a good one. Signing off.